Welcome to episode 16 of the Library Tech Cast with host Jeff Sable, which is myself, and Riley Childs. I'll go ahead and introduce myself first. My name's Jeffrey Sable. I'm instruction and outreach librarian at Concordia University Irvine, and I do a lot of the technology just because we're such a small library, about four librarians, full floor-time librarians.
Hmm.
We're just a small religious college. I'll throw it over to Riley Childs, and he can introduce our two awesome guests today and himself. Riley?
Hello, my name is Riley Childs, and I am a student and library manager and IT guru at Charlotte United Christian Academy. I just do a lot with educational technologies and library technologies, and just kind of chill out and mess around with library coding and stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce David Singleton from the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library.
Hello. How are you?
Okay. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I will. Let me start by just saying I'm really happy to be with you. Sorry I've missed the last couple, but I've been in Charlotte for about 6 years. We're a system that serves about 1 million people in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, with 20 locations and a website that gets about 32 million or so hits a year. So I've had the good fortune of working on a lot of great projects around the country. When I was in Georgia, I had the privilege of working on Pines and Evergreen software down there, and beginning Evergreen back in 2006 was when we debuted that. So a lot of great experiences around technology. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the things going on in the library here now, and some things you might be interested in.
Okay, and the Miss Natalie Binder, and she moderates LibChat on Twitter on Wednesday nights.
Yeah, it's Wednesday nights, 8 o'clock to 9:30, more or less. My name is, it's Binder, Natalie Binder.
Oh.
And I do moderate LibChat. I went to library school at Florida State, and now I work in Florida in Jefferson County as a public librarian. We're quite small and quite rural, but a great library, I think, that does great service, and I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, I would like to blame Michael Schofield for my mispronunciation of your name.
Throw him under the bus.
He's not here, so
that's what I was thinking.
Why not?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't have a camera, and my network wouldn't support it anyway, because I'm like in the sticks of the sticks. So, so you'll be hearing me but not seeing me today.
So where are you in Florida? Tell me again.
Jefferson County.
Where is that?
It's called the Keystone County. It sort of goes from Georgia
Yeah.
to the Gulf. It sort of connects Georgia and the Gulf, and it's right at the middle of the Big Bend.
Oh, okay. Yep. Yep.
And where I actually live is Monticello.
Okay. All right. Great. I've worked in several rural libraries, so I can feel what you're doing. So, and the importance of it.
Yeah.
Okay then. That's introductions. Thanks everyone for joining us. So our first kind of pseudo news item, for those of you who are not aware, registration for Code for Lib 2014 down in beautiful Raleigh, North Carolina opened up on Wednesday. And a little birdie told me that they are quickly approaching the maximum capacity. So you might want to go ahead right away as soon as you hear this and hop over to codeforlib.org if you're interested and click under conferences. I think, what is it? It's like codeforlib.org, and just click on conference and follow the links from there.
I think there's a link from the homepage too.
Yeah. And if you're on the mailing list, you should have got to the link. But I mean, it's affordable. I think it's $150. Don't want to be quoted on that. But I mean, it's ridiculously affordable. There, and if you can't come, there's going to be we're live streaming it.
Oh, they are. That's new.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're streaming it live.
That's awesome.
I don't know whether it's going to be HD. It's probably going to be pretty low quality with high quality HD archives, depending on what the network there supports. But I guess that's just kind of a little tidbit there. Jeff, did you have any news per se that you wanted to talk about this week?
Well, just once again, the iPad, the LA iPad, LA Unified School District iPads are once again in the news. And
Sorry.
I heard a little bit about that. Yeah.
So I'm just going to go off on the deep end and predict that it seems like the person who was in charge of this, who has since resigned, I think something's going to come out where they were getting some sort of kickback or they had some sort of illegal contact. But I think that's going to, and it seems like that's what they're investigating right now. But we'll see. I just think it's just it continues to be more and more a major disaster.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the article that's on the LA Times website. It's looking like they're actually moving ahead.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they
now.
can really get out of it. I think they signed a lot of contracts where it's going to be hard to.
The software is going to expire by the time the iPads are delivered.
Yeah. I mean, and because it's like they have to pay. It costs a ridiculous amount to manage to get managed licenses for those iPads because you have to pay per device, and licensing is not fun. But I guess the LA school district, they've just kind of had some bad luck with this because I know that other schools, CMS down here has deployed iPads across the board. And I mean, I'm not saying that maybe they should be other technologies, but I haven't. The guy that I talked to is told that I've been talking to recently about it has told me that it's been going smoother than we thought it would. I mean, everything's been going well.
And I mean the blunder resulted. I mean within the first sort of protest from the iPad when they were able to get around the security blocks, that person resigned right away. So I mean, I think it's been a disaster from the beginning. But it seems like there's going to be a lot of lawyers that are going to be able to, or I mean, there's $1 billion or something that they're paying for all this.
Wow.
And it seems like they're really going to try. I mean, I'm sure these contracts are ironclad, and the litigiousness of that is sort of, I think, is forcing them to continue upon this doomed path, as you'd say. I mean, like as Natalie pointed out, before they're even rolled out, the software that they paid all this money for is going to expire.
Yeah. Meanwhile, 85% of the schools don't have librarians.
And that just came out.
Yeah.
Wow.
So who's going to teach these kids to use the iPads? Assuming that they ever arrive at the school.
Yeah, it just seems like a horrible, horrible plan from the beginning, and it seems like that person had ulterior motives of maybe making money, or I don't know. It seems something happened in the beginning.
Well,
so Natalie, are they gonna? Did you hear anything about in library iPad use at all? Are you gonna do anything down there? It sounds like you're pretty rural, so your funding's probably not big.
actually, our funding is pretty stable. We're in good shape. We get good support from the state.
Oh.
And the state government, actually, considering that it's Florida and that we've been through some financial difficulties, in the whole country, has pretty steadily supported libraries and maintained support. So financially, we're good. In terms of in-library use of iPads, I do a lot of one-on-one instruction with people who get their iPad and have no idea how to use it. So it's mostly like teaching people how to use their email and basic security and how to manage the apps and that kind of stuff.
And I would imagine that it's good to start them early with security. Always.
Yeah. Especially when you're talking with older folks, and the son or the daughter got mom or dad an iPad so that they could communicate with the kids. You have to really talk to them about email safety.
Mm-hmm. Because you don't want them giving $50,000 to any Nigerian princes.
Right. That's true, and it happens more than you think.
Yep. Only takes 1%, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, David, I'm not sure I I'm not sure, is the CM Library talking about anything about iPads? And
Well, it's interesting because we've done a pilot project for the last year. We thought that iPads really had some application in mobile reference, so we did a pilot project at our Independence branch, very diverse neighborhood, very active location. What we found out though is that the staff really found the sweet spot for iPads with programming, and particularly children's and teen programming. And so that's what they've been largely using them for. So we're kind of rethinking that. What the staff said is that carrying them around the building, even though we had like holders for them and pads and all that stuff, just didn't work for them. So interesting. That's why we do pilot projects, to find out what works and what doesn't work.
yeah, because I know that I drive. I would imagine that it, because is that particular branch is right across from, I believe, either East Meck High School or Independence.
East Meck. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would imagine
David,
you have a.
David, you were saying that they used them mostly for coding. Is that what you're saying?
No, mostly for children's programs.
Oh, programs.
Actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so really interesting. We thought it would be one thing. It ended up being something else. The other thing we've done is that at Imaginon, we've used a number of iPads kind of stationed down throughout the building for like learning apps that encourage early literacy. So, and depending on, Imaginon is kind of zoned by age. So depending on the age for that zone, it's kind of 2-year-old, 6-year-old, 10-year-old, up to about teenage, and then different levels of kind of engagement around everything from early literacy to financial literacy, all kinds of things.
Yeah, I would actually say that Imaginon is actually probably my favorite library in the entire system.
Yeah.
I just because it's oriented towards teenagers.
It's a special place. Yeah.
Yeah.
And David, how do you quantify like this program's working? Or judge, I guess, or do you have any sort of objective markers?
At Imaginon, particularly with that program.
Yeah.
Well, one is how much it's used, so how many times people actually engage with it. But also we do surveys of people about the technology around the building and ask what they like, what they don't like, and we build from there. So some things we've dropped over time because people just weren't using them, and then we got feedback about some that it may not be the most appropriate thing for that age, but maybe this age it might work better. So we're a big feedback library. We try to ask the public a lot, and our staff tries to keep right on top of things as well.
And I think we talked about this, or I talked about this somewhere. I can't recall, but last week. But so what would you think if staff started to have? I think this actually might have been on LibChat. If staff started to have iPads that they walked around the library with, and they said, "Hey, would you like me to check out this book for you?"
Well, actually, I would love that personally. I would love that. I would love to be able, like to be able to do that even with a phone someday and a scanner on the phone. I'd like to be able to do that. I think our customers would like that as well. So we're not quite there yet, but I see us moving in that direction. One of the things you may have noticed the last few years is we have moved kind of checkouts all around the building, particularly the self-checks.
Oh, yeah, I've noticed that.
So I can envision taking the next step of that, which is wherever there's a staff member, you can check out there, and the staff member can help you wherever you are in the building. So.
And David, do you guys plan on moving to like RFID or?
We're working with Mecklenburg County, our primary funder, on that right now. They've actually done a business case over the past year or so. So they've looked at our processes, and I think we've established a pretty good business case. So that'll be part of our request for FY15 with Mecklenburg County.
Oh wow! So it's already in the planning stages.
It is. For me, it's about the capacity that it would give back our staff, and in terms of particularly of materials handling and automated check-in and getting our book drops so that they're connected to buildings, and so when things come in, they're checked in as opposed to sitting there overnight and waiting for somebody to check them in.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. So basically, it would be like rather, and I would imagine that'd be even useful anywhere because I wouldn't have to worry about fumbling around. The scanner doesn't, the barcode's nicked, the scanner doesn't work.
Yeah. Exactly.
Someone's thrown the scanner against the wall.
So basically, when you bring the item into the building, it's checked in.
We can set it up that way. I think we've got some decisions to make if we get the funding about how we want to set it up, but that is one way you can set it up. Oh. And the other interesting thing about that, depending on how we set it up, is that we can tell things about our user. For example, if we have programs in a certain space, we can have a reader in that space so that people have their library cards with them. We can actually see who attended that program as opposed to registration, which we've largely gone away from, which would be really cool in actually tracking people's use over time. So.
Or you could let patrons put the books wherever they want and then have a computer show where they are.
Well, that's true. That's a great use for it.
They could self-shelve the books. That would be interesting, actually.
Yeah, this past week I just heard about in I think it's Lexington, Kentucky, that a library system there is experimenting with kind of ping technology, picking up the ping signals from cell phones and mobile devices, particularly from customers in the building. It was software that was developed for museums and libraries. So what it can tell you, for example, is how many people came into certain parts of the building, some about what they did there, how much time they spent there, and kind of what their interactions were. So I think that might have some possibilities for the future.
Well, that brings up some pretty serious privacy issues.
It does, and I think there's always a balance there. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think there was an article in the Chronicle of Higher Education where someone did an open source project where for I think $190 they set up that whole system where if you had a cell phone and the Wi-Fi was turned on, he could track not only if you were in the building but what you were viewing on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Wow.
malls do this extensively.
Yeah,
I mean, I know. South Park.
He was just showing how easy it is to do. For he's saying anybody with $190 and there's this open source code, they can track you just and as more of I guess a demonstration to show that what is a government with unlimited resources gonna do?
Wow.
Because it will I know that the really big mall, Concord Mills, which is down here, which is like a mega mall, is you'll walk through the building, and if you've authenticated to the Wi-Fi and put in your email, it knows where you've been, and it will and depending on if you've checked a box, it will actually send you special offers for stores that you've been in.
So as you walk by the Gap, it sends you a coupon for the Gap.
If you spend time in the Gap, if you're authenticated to whatever in the Gap for a long period of time.
But does it explicitly say that you're being tracked when you sign on to the Wi-Fi?
Well, it's a really long acceptable use agreement.
So you're selling your soul to the devil.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing's at the bottom.
But
to give up your firstborn child. That's probably what happened with those iPads up there in California. They didn't read all the way through.
Yeah,
the world that we live in.
Yeah.
So, but David, also you had something going on with Team Treehouse or whatever that coding thing is.
Treehouse. We just added Treehouse to our products and services here at the library. So, are you all familiar with Treehouse? Do you know what it is?
No.
It basically wherever you are in your expertise with programming, website development, app development, you can start from the beginning. You can start wherever you are, and it's partially about community and connecting with people in the community who may know more than you do, like a lot of development communities. But it's also kind of online instruction about how to get to that next place you want to be. And so it's, I think, particularly HTML, Ruby, CSS, Android and iPhone apps. I just kind of been exploring with it a little bit right now.
Can you talk about the process? What motivated you to go out and sort of implement this new software? Because last week we were talking about how when is coding going to become a subject in high school? Basically, when is it going to reach that point? And I think libraries are on the forefront in that respect.
Oh yeah. Also, David, I don't know if you opened a ticket with someone or something, but I just went to go to the sign-up page and I got a notice saying that the URL needs to be authorized for a redirect.
Oh.
Yeah. I just want to let you know. Easy proxy server.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
On Treehouse or on the general library website?
And when you go to NC, you put in your library card number. It takes you to NC Live. You put in your library card number again, and it will redirect you.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. I did it earlier today, so I'll check it out.
Something must have changed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, but anyway, so what sort of motivated, or Natalie, you want to jump in?
Oh, I was just saying, I'm not familiar with Treehouse, but it does sound similar to things that are going on here at my library, where we're seeing a real surge in students who are going to college full-time at the library.
Right.
Oh.
That's interesting.
I think it's something that's been insufficiently covered in the literature, in library journal and stuff like that, because I think it's hugely important. Because our library has basically turned into a community college without us doing anything or allocating any money, just by putting the computers there and giving them internet access. All of a sudden, we're sort of an academic library.
And so, what can you talk more about? What why are college students coming to a rural public library now as opposed to 5 years ago? Is it just because of online classes?
I think it's sort of a blending of economics, because most of these people are working parents and especially working mothers. Who I think it's a transportation issue. We don't have a community college. In our community. Our community is quite poor, and I think that it also has to do with the technology sort of arriving so that you can go to college full-time online and have it be relatively effective, or as good as regular college.
Reliable technology and convenience. Yeah, we see a lot of community college students in our libraries as well.
But most of our students are attending private colleges.
Interesting.
So, David, where you live, is there community colleges offer a lot of classes online? Because I was surprised to find out. Wanted to go back and take a Perl class, coding class, and I mean all the community colleges offer those classes online, which is pretty awesome, and it's for the same low price. I mean, at least here in California, I think it's like $35 a unit or something, maybe a little bit more. So you're looking at $150 for a class online, which is, I mean, I any way you look at it, I think that's
a good deal.
Priced. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's about what it is. And CPCC is the community college here, and that's about what it's like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have a number of campuses throughout Mecklenburg County, but they've really been expanding online learning the past few years.
Okay. And Natalie, I guess conversely, does Florida offer their community college offer classes online?
Yeah, most of our colleges do. I worked full-time and attended school full-time for library school, and I went to some physical classes because FSU's half an hour, 45 minutes away. But I could afford to do that. Quite a number of our patrons can't take the time off work, and they work at minimum wage jobs anyway.
Right.
So for most of them, this is an effort to better themselves and improve their earning and hiring potential within the limits of a very poor rural community.
I might add. Can I add one thing about Treehouse, which is you mentioned earning potential. One of the nice things about Treehouse is you get some level of certification once you finish a level of courses in Treehouse. So people see that as very appealing for job applications, particularly. So that was another impetus for us. Plus, we've been in the maker space kind of business. We're not necessarily a Makerspace printer, 3D printer at this point in time, but we started Makerspace at Imaginom, and that opened in 2006. So we've been in makerspaces for a long time, and we've had teenagers, particularly teenagers, involved in technology for a long time, and I just see that spreading. And I think Treehouse is another way to kind of help people get to the next level. And I do think coding is, and development and creation is going to become more common across working adults, particularly teens and adults.
We do a lot with the kids in Scratch at the library, MIT Scratch language.
Yeah.
Now the kids will come and they'll sort of, it's a programming language written by MIT for children based on sort of a Lego principle. So each of the little units of code sort of stacks up. They're color coded, and then they sort of stack up into little sandwiches, and the kids do that. So they'll sort of come and tug on my hem and say, "Can I get the one where you make video games?" And then then I show them Scratch.
So it's kind of like Lego Mindstorms?
No, it's not actually Lego.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, you know, the Mindstorm software was like, I remember I got it. I had one like 5 years ago, and you had all your programming blocks over here, and you dragged it in, and it was basically fall through logic. If this, then that, then that, then that, and it had
It's sort of like that.
Yeah. Okay. So it's.
So you'll have like the blue action modules, and then you'll have like the yellow control modules, and you sandwich the action modules between the control modules, and they mush together. And then if you click it, it will run the whole process.
So it's object-oriented programming that is literally objects.
Yeah. Well, online, not physical.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like drag and drop objects. That's what
drag and drop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've used it a lot for game creation, for kind of simple game creation, and people really enjoy that, from preteens on up.
Yeah. We're also looking at, there's a library in California, actually, going back to California again, that's offering the high school diplomas, like actual high school diplomas for kids. And our school system, not so hot. We would love to be able to offer an alternative for students.
That's LA Public Library, and they're offering it through a product that I think is available through Gale, Cengage. And we looked at that product about a month ago. We had a demo of it. It's really slick, really nice.
So explain the program. I'm not really familiar with it. A little bit more.
It's actually an online diploma program. So it's not a GED program per se, but you actually get a high school diploma with this program. And there's not a waiting period of 6 months like there is for GED. You have to have dropped out of school for at least 6 months to get in a GED program. So there's not a waiting period for it. And it is a national program, and Gale is the first group that's kind of developed the technology around how to do it well. So that's something we're interested in. It's a little expensive, so we're trying to figure out how to pay for it right now.
Yeah, that'd be great in any situation, because I know that there. And would this program be geared towards teens, or would it be geared towards adults, or both, or?
It's both. It's both, really. Yeah.
Okay.
And is there a price for it, or?
It's actually kind of based on scholarships, is the way their pricing goes, and so it's depending on where you are with your education, it's up to about $1,200 to go through the process. So that's kind of the cost thing that we're kind of thinking through right now, and whether we can get some community sponsors who are highly motivated for a more educated community to help us with a project like that.
Yeah, that's awesome news.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, really, go ahead.
Oh yeah. I mean that sounds like it's gonna be great, and I can think of some of my friends off the top of my head that could probably use something like that. That might not necessarily CMS is great, but if there was another alternative out there that they'd probably do better doing it themselves and on their own, and rather
Well,
than doing it with a yeah.
It really speaks to the changing role of the public library in the community,
Hmm.
and sort of this trend toward lifelong learning that includes some sort of certification component, and especially with alternative students. I think there's some real opportunities for funding, for secure funding for the future there.
And I think what it's interesting is it's interesting to see the library morph. And we talked about this in an earlier episode. I think it was like episode 9. We spent like 10 minutes on the changing space of libraries. And ever since the creation of libraries, early on, libraries have always just been about books and manuscripts. But what they've really been about is they've really been about knowledge and the knowledge contained within there. And slowly, as our society moves more, not only to a more technological, but to a more, we have more time for leisure now. We're going to I think, when we are seeing it, and it's moving really quickly, we're starting to see the libraries become knowledge centers rather than centers for you to check out a book.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas they're
Yeah.
not only providing the knowledge within the books, but they're also expounding on that knowledge and being able to provide services.
Well,
other than books.
Well, and help people navigate all that information. I think that people are just overwhelmed by the amount of information, both in print and online these days. And I think libraries are going to play a key role going forward in helping people really kind of figure out what's unbiased, number one, but also what are some of the most useful things for what they need as individuals.
Well, yeah, and I think that libraries, and especially public libraries, are some of the only institutions positioned in communities to take that responsibility on.
I agree.
There is not another I mean, we have public schools, but those don't take everyone, and they can't. So we're sort of the reach of the educational institution and communication and all of that into, about as far to the end of the network as you can get.
Exactly.
In terms of that.
Yeah, and it's because, unfortunately, a lot of public schools and even some private schools, and it's a one-size-fits-all scenario. Their goal is to work towards the lowest common denominator, and I don't want to say it like that, but that's really what the whole idea is it's to
It has
make
to be
sure
directed at the average.
Yeah, it has to be directed at the average, and even not necessarily it has to be pseudo-directed towards the below average. But that doesn't allow people who want to learn more and are interested and are going to excel. That doesn't help the above average. And I think even it's going to be great to see the library become a supplemental place for the school environment. And I mean, even now, like the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library, they provide homework help. They provide, and the chat, their online chat services is
Thank you.
fantastic. And we had Gwen Exner on from chat staff who talked to us about that, and I mean, it's homework help. They do it all, and I think it's going to be great, and I like where all the stuff in libraries is going, and I can't wait for the rest of the year. I just want to get your two. What do you think is going to be big in 2014? What do you think is coming up?
2014, here's what I hope will be big, which is a single sign-on for digital materials for libraries. I think that would be huge. Heard some rumors that there are some people working on that, so I would love to see that. Our customers would love to see that. They don't want to go to 5 different platforms or 8 different platforms or 12 different platforms and have 12 different sign-ins. They want one, and they want to be able to do it kind of seamlessly. And I would love for that to happen in 2014. If it doesn't happen in 2014, I'm pretty sure it'll happen by 2015.
And and I've used your pseudo single sign-on solution.
Yeah.
It works, but it's not as seamless as it could be. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
And what is the software for that?
I believe it's custom based on NC Live.
It is. That's
okay.
Right.
Yeah. That's. I mean, that's just what I thought. Every time I see this sort of stuff, I just research the heck out of it until I know what the stuff is behind it, and I could find anything on your system.
Mm.
And Gwen, what do you think is going to be big in your world and in the library world in general?
Natalie.
Natalie.
Natalie Binder.
I had a mind fart.
It's okay. Well, for our library particularly, we're definitely looking at an expanding role in e-government and social services. The social service agency here closed about a month ago, and they are now providing social services at the library. So that is something that has changed the way that we work, that has brought a different group of people into the library.
And how would you what do you think about that transition? Do you think it went well, it was planned out, or was it more out of need?
Well, part of it was driven by the financial issues going on with Children's and Family Services, where they didn't want to support an office here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's great. It's been a great exercise in community building. We have been very happy to welcome people to the library who maybe wouldn't have come to the library before, and I think a lot of people are getting help all in one place that they used to have to go all over the place for, because we were already doing health insurance and we were already doing taxes, and now we have a day of the week for that, and that's when people come.
Wow.
And that also allows you, because that means that they're coming for their social services, but they might also stay for the books. They might
Right.
stay for
Exactly.
And it's
programs.
parents, and they're bringing their kids, and it's older people who are economically marginalized, who are living on fixed incomes, who benefit from the social interaction, who benefit from the service, and are empowered by that, I think.
Well, that sounds great, and I just wanted to know before we start the slow descent into our wrap up, anything else? Anyone want to give a shout out to something that they're doing, or just kind of go down my screen here? Let's start out with Natalie. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Well, I'm on Twitter at NVBinder, or when I'm running LibChat, it's at Natalie Binder, which is sort of my chat and conference thing, so I don't Twitter bomb my usual followers with a bunch of tweets. Not that I don't do that anyway. And I also have a blog, NVBinder at wordpress.com, and I just blogged about how I think ebooks are on their way out.
I've heard that from a few people lately. Interesting.
Children's ebooks are down 40% this year, and I think that we really need to start looking at how much ebooks we're buying and if we're supporting the right formats for the future.
And Jeffrey, where can people find you?
On Twitter at LA Library Man. And one shout out, the LA Public Library the last Sunday celebrated the Sunday opening of 7 more branch libraries, which is awesome news. Yeah, so it seems like I don't know, I feel like maybe 5 years ago there was sort of an attitude, or it seemed like library funding was drying up, and it's been fully restored plus some. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
To really see that change.
And where can people find you, David?
You can find me on the library's Facebook account. You can find me on my personal Facebook account. I have a Twitter account. I don't use it very much. It's David Singleton. Just one word. And I think that's it. Okay.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us. I'm just going to do my little where you can find me and my little wrap-up spiel. If you're watching the video, as you can see beautifully displayed across my screen, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at RowdyChildren. You can also find me at my blog, and I do all sorts of other stuff at RileyChilds.net. And you can learn more about me and learn more about some of the open source projects I'm involved in. You can find, now onto the Library TechCast. You can find the Library TechCast on Facebook, kind of. Not really, because we don't update it ever. Facebook.com/LibraryTechCast. You can find us on Google+, Google.com/+sign Library TechCast Live. And on YouTube, youtube.com/LibraryTechCast, as you probably know already. And you can also find us on Twitter. We're at Library TechCast. Just want to remind everyone that if you have something that you would like to chat with us about or talk with us, send us an email, info@LibraryTechCast. We would love to hear from you. And we can set up a time to talk about whatever you want to talk about. Just for now, I want to wish everyone a very, very good week. And I think that's everything. So just want to wish everyone a good week. And if Jeff just wants to say bye for us.
Yeah, bye, and thanks for our guests. You guys were amazing.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it.
Okay, bye.
Have a good weekend.